must have, may I use your agenda?
Absolutely.
I'll give it back to him. Well, again, welcome to the December 19th session of the Board of Library Trustees of the Allen County Public Library. Gloria, will you call the roll?
Vice Mark?
Present.
Mr. Moss?
Here. Here.
Mr. Seifert? Mr. Williams? He's here. I'm going to mark him as here.
Yes.
He'll come in. Mr. Curley? And myself, Ms. Shamanoff. So we have 5 currently in present.
5? Five present. Is anyone on the Zoom? No. No. Okay, thank you. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda with a Scrivener's error change in item number 9, review of the bylaws. It should say as amended. Jim, you are out there hustling Notre Dame fans.
Don't have to.
Can I?
Accept.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
And opposed by nay. That passes. If there are no objections, I'd like to group the approval of the minutes. A, minutes of the regular session of November 21st, 2024. B, the minutes of the executive session of November 21st, 2024. And C, the minutes of approval of claims December 6, 2024.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. That too shall pass. And David, your financial report.
Great, thank you, Ben, and I'll make this one quick because we've got a full agenda, and really the two things I wanted to talk about are separate agenda items later on. It's the transfers and the treasurer's bond. But overall, nothing new to report, no new lines as we are getting close to the end of the year. There's, as you'll see with the transfers, quite a few of them moving money around, but they were mainly in areas where I've talked about it before, whether it be due to the facility master plan expenses or the professional services related to it. Other than that, really not anything else. We're just gearing up for year end in finance and getting all the, right now, Jill just finished doing checks for the foundation. There's a lot of transfers between the foundation and the library at the end of the year. So getting those all taken care of and then kicking things off at the beginning of the year with yet another fiscal year.
Thank you,
I'd
David.
be glad to ask any questions.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion that we accept the claim, the financial report for November 2024 as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Now we have the approval of the claims.
Today's claims, I'll send these around for signature. There were 662,000 today. The highest one is 154,000 that are due to our laptop refresh. It's the cyclical. Every year we replace 20% of the public and staff PCs and update them. So that was 154,000. So that was the largest expense on this one. But again, I'll pass this around and.
Okay, we'll move the claims. Let's talk about item 6, the resolution of transfer appropriations within operating fund.
Yes, in your packet is the resolution I usually prepare each year. And just as a, background, of course, this is a movement between lines. There is no additional monies going in here. Those were done actually through the city council work earlier this year to get the $8 million into the lines for the roofing chiller project. If you saw the backup documentation, a lot of this is being moved into lines where those expenses existed. So when we added the money, it was all into the building and structure line. This is now moving, the most significant one is into the the heating, air conditioning area, the professional services that we had for the legal expenses, the Baker Tilly consultant expenses, the maintenance supplies, those areas, all the things that are going in. And then other areas that I'd said over the year we were going to need some money in, whether it was the capital expenditures, where we did quite a bit of capital work this year, especially in the furniture area, more than usual. So moving it from the 3,000 lines, which are the services lines, down into the fixed asset line. And then, the other areas, they were all over. You can see that list that's attached. But that's really the nature of the things. This is our usual end of year, one of our end of the year actions. Next month, I'll end up doing another one, which is the carryover encumbrances. So once we transfer these monies, we pay the final bills, then we'll have what we need to carry over into 2025 from 24's budget that will still be paid from the $24 or 24 appropriations. So.
Okay,
Yep.
Seems like things are in order.
Yeah, yep, This was the largest transfer I've ever done. It was almost 3.4 million. Usually they're much less than that. But again, when you've got an $8 million project, you're going to have that. And this won't be the smallest one. Jill will have the pleasure of bringing the ones in the future when we do the $37 million worth of projects.
May I have an approval, a motion to approve the resolution of transfer? Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Any comments? Oh, yes, Jim. Oh,
Oh, we need a motion to approve the claims.
I'm sorry. I tried to sneak that one by to move the agenda quickly. You caught me. Let's do a motion to approve item 5, approval of claims.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Now let's do number 6 in order. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. It passes, and now we come to the treasurer's
Treasurer's
bond.
Yeah, and this again is one of those items that the state still requires us to have a separate treasurer's bond, even though the primary coverage for liability and any problem comes from our directors and officers policy that has a $10 million, policy limit on it. This is $100,000. We keep it as low as possible just to keep it inexpensive. This year's a little different because we're having both one for myself and for Jill, because there are times here this first part of the year where I will still be, signing checks or approving expenses. Jill will be doing the same thing. So we actually have two that we're obtaining this time through our insurance agent. Once I leave, then they will rebate us for part of that time for the year. But like I said, this is just an item that's still required by the state. So once this is done and signed, we will upload that to the gateway system, and we'll be in their good graces at that point.
Well, we want to be in the good graces.
That's right.
of the
That's
state.
right.
No messing around there.
That's right.
So let's have a motion to approve the treasurer's bond.
So moved.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Jim. Any further discussion?
Tell you what, you have a question.
Sure.
It seems a little bit a waste of money.
Oh, it is.
And will the state figure this out at some point, or is there a rationale?
Oh, I wouldn't
we
touch
don't
that
understand?
question with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, that's
The thing is, I always see each year, you got to remember, there are tons of state libraries, small libraries, where that $100,000 policy is more than adequate for what they would need, and they may not be carrying large D&O policies that would cover them for malfeasance and things like that. So I think there's still some reason to have it. It would be nice to have an option saying, well, if your entity has D&O insurance that has coverage limits of $1 million, $5 million, whatever, you don't need a separate treasurer's bond, but at this point, there's nothing like that that
Okay.
exists.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? All those in favor signify by aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. And Pat, when you find out from the state, let us
That's
know.
right, that's right.
Okay, committee reports. The report of the nominating committee.
Well, the nominating committee met online, and as a result, we bring before you the slate of candidates for nomination. Ben Eisbart, President, Paul Moss, Vice President, and Gloria Shamanoff, Secretary.
That's a committee recommendation, so it doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please, of the nominating committee's report signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Thank you, and I thank you. Item 9, this will be the meat of the meeting for a while. A review of the amended bylaws. Susan?
Thank you, Ben. You may remember that last month we had the first reading of the amended bylaws. To stay within the Indiana State Library standards, it's required that boards review their bylaws every 3 years. So I work with Pete and Ted's team to look at the bylaws, presented you with a revision last month, got some feedback from you, what we added per our conversation last month. In Article 9, committees, we've added to the list of standing committees. We already have Finance Committee, we added Nominating Committee, we already have Personnel Committee, and we added Capital Projects Committee. And that's pretty much the meat of what we added to the bylaws.
Can I have a motion then to approve the amended bylaws?
So moved.
Or the bylaws as amended? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the bylaws as amended, or the amended bylaws, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? Thank you, that passes. Our collection development policy review.
Great, thank you, Ben. Our Collection Services Manager, Matt Etzel, will be giving a presentation. But some context, we were just talking about how there are certain policies that we need to review on a certain cycle. One of Kim Boland's big projects this year was to put together a master list of all of our policies and list when they should be routinely reviewed and get us on track for that. You may remember that a few months ago, we brought to you a revision of the plaza policy. Well, this month we are bringing to you a revision of our collection development policy. This is a policy that has not been reviewed and approved by this body since May of 2019. Matt, again, is our collection services manager. He put together a cross-departmental team to review the policy and come to you with some fairly minor revisions. And I will let Matt share what the team is recommending.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you tonight. We have very minor changes, like Susan said, for the most part, getting the policy in line with current practice and procedures that have kind of shifted in the last couple years. For instance, my role did not exist in 2019, so that was a big one. Some of the bigger changes there. The process that we went through, Susan and I sat down together and kind of went through it with some of our initial thoughts. We involved Kurt for the special collections part of this, and then I got together with the collection development team, which is the team under me that does the selection of the materials for the library. And kind of put all those together, and then I went, created, as Susan said, a team of librarians and managers from public service to kind of get their thoughts on it and their opinions, and that the feedback that I got from that was super helpful. And then, of course, we went through senior leadership and the management team most recently for their thoughts on it. So changes for that, like I said, some minor editing, clarifying procedure and roles to kind of, we had the collection development team, the selectors, kind of pulled out mentioned in the policy, and so we've changed that so that my role over them is more clear. And then Kurt in charge of special collections, of course. There was some confusion of language around what special collections and what are just circulating collections that are special. So such as world language, the law books that we have up in the Business Science and Technology Department, things like that kind of fall under my purview rather than Kurt's. And so we kind of separated those out into different sections. As well as a section on new and emerging formats to kind of keep us up to, libraries aren't just books. And so as new formats come out, to make sure that they also, everything that we would collect would fall under this policy as well. We linked it to the mission and the strategic plan more closely and more clearly. And I think those are the major changes there. Yeah, but if anybody has any questions, I can be happy to pass it off to Susan. Yes.
I have one question, and maybe you explained it, but it wasn't clear to me. We used to have a legal collection, and it looks like that's been removed. Is that part of this reorganization of circulating?
Yeah, it is still in here. It is under selection criteria. There's on page 3.
Yep.
There's a list. It's actually at the very bottom. So we do still have that collection. We are still maintaining it. And so we do still have it, but that's one of the sections that we pulled out because it's under my purview versus a special collection under Kurt. But yes, we do still have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is that utilized?
Yeah, it is for the most part. It's, the largest outside of South Bend, I think, that the public can access in terms of legal. So it has the law guides, the codes, case law, that sort of thing that people, especially, it's geared towards people who will represent themselves for the most part. So it's not aimed at lawyers. They have the courthouse for that. So, but yes, it is utilized. And
Is it a physical collection or a computer collection?
It is,
or a combination?
yeah, so the majority is physical, but we do have a database that works alongside it.
And Ben, just as a fun aside, over the summer, I had a longtime friend of mine, we went to library school together many years ago, stay with me for a few days, and we came to visit the main library, and of course, he wanted to check out the legal collection. He is a trained lawyer, but also the director of a public law library in California, and he was very, very impressed at our resources that we had here for the public to see.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the collection development policy? Well, then I'll entertain a motion to accept it as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, and a second, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, item 11, we're talking about, talking again about our authorized staffing table. Lorraine?
Oh, good afternoon. In your packets is the authorized staffing table, which includes the salary increases that were approved last month for effective date of January 1st, 2025. The staffing table also includes the new positions or title changes that we briefly touched on last month that we would like to change for 2025. The first one is we would like to change all the current positions that are labeled as makerspace guides to studio guides. We rebranded the studio earlier this year, or actually in the fall of this year, and to go in line with that brand, we would like to change those to studio guides. So no change in pay or pay grade, just the title. Over the last 2 years, our digital communications have shifted from web updates to just-in-time and automated patron communication platforms. We've also expanded our use of social media and began really using our website as a tool for marketing and patron services. We have an incredible digital communications specialist on staff now who does all of that, and we would like to promote him to supervisor and backfill his current vacancy to further expand those communication journeys. And stop me if you have any questions about these as we go. We currently have a vacancy in a graphic designer position. We have 2 graphic designers on staff, and we are asking to change that vacancy to a senior graphic designer. That will help alleviate some of those first-tier tickets that now go directly to our marketing manager and allow for some growth and leadership in managing those inflow of tickets. We are doing a slight restructure to our genealogy department by opening an assistant genealogy services manager promotion opportunity to our senior genealogy librarians. We would not backfill one of their positions, so whoever gets that promotion, we would not backfill their role. Right now, the coordination and onboarding of volunteers is something my senior HR specialist handles. She's really great at it, but her workload is full, and we really don't have there's a lot more opportunities for volunteers. We're not able to dedicate time to volunteers and their onboarding process. So we would like to have a part-time, 20-hour-a-week volunteer services coordinator to help with those orientation onboardings to increase our volunteer efforts.
Could you give us some examples of what volunteer activities are?
Yeah. Most of our volunteers are with audio reading service, and actually that manager handles them very well. Most of our volunteers are shelvers at positions or different branches throughout the system. Typically, when we reach out saying we have a volunteer, volunteers can say, I want to volunteer at the library, I don't care what department, or they can say, I really like a Boyd, I live by a Boyd. And when we reach out to those managers, a lot of times it's an extra task that the manager has to do to onboard them and train them and make sure that they're doing it correctly. And this person can help out, take that burden off of the managers to help them with, we don't have any orientation for volunteers right now outside of what the managers are doing. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to get more volunteers with somebody focused on them.
As an example of if they were at Georgetown Library, what would their need might be? Or you can just use it globally, I'm just
Yeah.
mentioning one library.
Well, we always want to make sure that we're not having a volunteer do the work that a staff member would normally do, so that we're not crossing any labor laws. But a lot of times they're shelving because that's the easiest task for somebody to be trained on and be able to do autonomously. And I think a lot of those branches, especially Georgetown, there's a lot of opportunities with programming and things that they could help the staff, take off the burden for the staff that we just don't have that capacity to help train right now.
Is there background checks done?
Yes, we do background checks on all our volunteers and staff. Yeah. Most of our IT, switching to IT, most of our IT applications are custom built and are used daily by our staff and patrons. So these include our incident report system, our staff dashboard, some library databases. They're all maintained by one software engineer. So we'd like to add a full-time associate software engineer to help with that IT workflow and systems. Another title change to better encompass their scope of work. Right now, our maintenance manager has maintenance technicians and a lead maintenance technician. We'd like to change them all to facilities because they do much more than simple maintenance. Our lead maintenance technician, we would like to promote into the supervisor role, which is consistent with other system-wide departments. And then that would give growth opportunities for one of our maintenance techs to take that lead facilities role. There is definitely a need in operations for administrative support to our COO, Kim Bolin. This would include furniture, shelving, equipment, and facilities project support. We actually looked internally for this and believe we have someone on staff who is very good with this skill set. So we are looking to change our MSS assistant manager to our operations support technician. There's actually no change in pay. The pay grade overlaps enough that she wouldn't have a change in pay, but it would be a change in her pay grade, and we would not backfill her role in MSS, Material Support Services. And last but not least, we talked about the reorg of our youth services here at Maine. We had a vacancy with our teen services manager, and with that vacancy, we would like to organize the youth services to look a lot like the adult services, where there's one manager, the manager of children's and teen services, and then there's an assistant manager in each children's and teens. So this would be consistent with the structure of adult services at Maine as well. Any other questions?
No questions, just a comment.
Yeah.
Ray. You're managing a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot
Yes.
of information. You've done a really good job of making this easy for us to follow what's
Thank you.
going on, understand what's
Thank you.
changing. I think I have a sense of what it is you're trying to do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? If not, then can we have a motion to approve the 2025 authorized staffing table?
So moved.
Thanks, Jim.
Second.
Paul, further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay? Thank you. Okay, our strategic plan update.
So it was October of 2023 when you, as our trustees, approved our strategic plan for the next 4 years. So here we are, a year and change later. I think if we could turn the clock back to a year ago and you would have told me that we were going to accomplish all of this in a year, I would have been incredulous, exhausted, intimidated, all of the words. But it's amazing when a group of really dedicated, talented, hardworking people come together and work together for a common cause, what you can achieve. So I'd like to talk a bit about what we have tackled in this first year of the strategic plan. It's really, really impressive. And I won't read it verbatim, but we do have in your packet a booklet of some of the highlights from this first year, divided by our major initiatives. For our initiative of celebrating reading and learning, which you may remember, we said that that is through books, hands-on learning, technology, and valuing different perspectives. We celebrate individual and collective stories. And there are numerous instances of us achieving this initiative throughout 2024. Some of the highlights would be launching the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. I think when we talked about it last year, we put on our list that we would explore it. Well, we have done more than explore it. We have launched it. We have funded it for the first 2 years. And as of about an hour ago, we were at 4,500 children registered. So I think we did more than explore. We went all out. We expanded education-related programs and infrastructure, specifically with our studios at the library. This was a year where we rebranded our Maker Labs into the studios. We began our renovation here at the main library, creating a new expanded Maker Lab in the former Dunkin' Donuts that is slated to open in early 2025. We also expanded open hours at the mini labs at our Hessen Castle, Pontiac, and Shawnee branches, and we expanded the programming in that area. We also received a generous grant from the Don Wood Foundation to support these initiatives. For the equitable digital and technology access to resources for our community, we added several more digital resources this year, including Canopy, which is a film and television streaming service. And we also added on-demand access to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Under the initiative of creating a culture of belonging through our team, collections, and services, everyone has a home at ACPL. We did create a bilingual partnerships and program specialist to better serve patrons who speak languages other than English, and that person started last month. His name is Esteban Correa, and he has already done amazing work, and he is getting out and visiting branches and having interviews with community anchors, and we look forward to him coming to the board in future months to give a report on what he has been working on.
What languages
What languages does he speak?
does he?
He is a fluent Spanish speaker, but in his position, he will be focusing on targeted outreach to the Spanish-speaking community and the Burmese-speaking community. Under the goal of connecting staff working as a team with a greater sense of belonging at ACPL, back in July, Lorraine did a presentation for you on Nectar, which is our internal staff awards and reward system. Also, we have an internal history project that began this year. It is a collaboration between the Human Resources Department and Special Collections. It's our own internal archive of our history. We capture the stories of so many in the community and the nation and the world, actually. And we felt it was time to be more intentional about collecting our own story as a library. So that group is working together to capture and preserve our own library history and stories of impact. And under Connecting Community, through collaborations with people and organizations, we strengthen our community and extend our reach. We, this year, thanks to Aja and her marketing team, relaunched, by popular demand, the Gold Card campaign with the Friends of the Library, and we have added 38 new Gold Card holders in 2024, and that is a fundraiser with the Friends where for a one-time donation of $250, you get a shiny gold library card. And that has been very popular, and we've even in the recent weeks, we've had a few people reach out and say they wanted to buy their loved ones a gold card for a Christmas present. We launched the ACPL store with licensed ACPL merchandise available for sale. There's branded merchandise for the library, for the Genealogy Center, and for the Friends. And a portion of the proceeds support the Friends. We even had a Black Friday sale for the merch store. For our Roland Center, we were able to hire an educational outreach coordinator, and she will be coming to you in February, also the month of Lincoln's birthday and President's Day, to talk about the work she has been doing. We also hosted, in collaboration with the Literacy Alliance and the Friends of the Library, the Night at the Library fundraiser in May. And we raised more than $9,000 for the Friends, and we welcome new members to the Friends organization. And there is a second annual Night of the Library planned for this May. So more information on that coming soon. And as far as expanding advocacy to elected officials, we had several elected officials here last month for a tour of our solar roof project. And I, with a very strong assist from our Access Fort Wayne department and our marketing department, launched a talk show that we filmed here in Access Fort Wayne, where we interview local elected officials and leaders. And we have 3 available for viewing right now, and there'll be one launched each month. So we're really excited about how that turned out. That's been a lot of fun.
That, you know, when you walk into this library for years and years, we have that huge space. And what it looks like today, it's wonderful. And there are people actually using it, and it's not at all cluttered.
Absolutely. Well, we need to thank Kim Boland for that. She was the lead on that project, and you segged me very well into our next initiative, Designing Functional Friendly Spaces. A prime example of that is the furniture that was placed in the Great Hall, and that's just been a delight to see that kind of color and energy and life in the Great Hall. I think it's just a great use of space. So thanks to Kim and her team, and Elena was a big help in that, and events. Our team as well, of ordering that furniture and getting it placed. We also have expanded, on that note, our facilities planning and design guidelines. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, as an accomplishment under designing functional and friendly spaces, last month we were able to secure county council approval for phase 1 of our facility master plan. And finally, under leading through innovation, through sustainable innovation and improvement, we thrive as a library and as a community. We, this year, launched our 24/7 holds lockers at our DuPont Library. We installed the first set of them in February, and they were so incredibly popular that just this month we doubled them. And within a day of adding twice the amount, they were already full. So it's obviously a service that was much in demand, and in 2025, we have plans to roll them out to other branch libraries. We also this year launched and conducted 2 leadership cohorts within our own library to identify, support, and empower current and prospective leaders within the organization. You see a picture of that in the brochure. You see someone that you probably know very well, John Dortch, one of our community leaders who came to speak to our team of leadership cohorts. And that has been a very busy 2024, and I reviewed it over a high level, but of course, there's more details in this brochure. We have an equally busy and ambitious 2025. on deck, and you can see a bit about what's to come. One of our initiatives will be a community-wide big read event, and I mentioned at a previous meeting that we have booked NPR journalist and author Steve Inskeep to come to the main library in October to speak on his book, Differ We Must, and we'll be doing some related programming around that. We also are planning for additional Storyscape locations in 2025. We are planning for bilingual story times, multilingual signage, some public vending options at our main library, and also a launch of 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, which is a nationwide early literacy campaign that encourages young children to read 1,000 books before kindergarten. So a lot on deck for 2025. Happy to answer any questions.
Susan, I have two questions. The last item you just mentioned, the 1,000 books, how does that integrate with the Dolly Parton program, or is there?
They are
Is there-
separate programs, but they complement each other.
Yeah.
Because we encourage children and families to read those 1,000 books, and those are a combination of the Dolly Parton books that they get mailed to their home, books they check out, other books in the home.
Okay.
So they complement each other very well.
Seems like, yeah, there's a real opportunity to
Yes.
leverage those. My second thing is, so we've made a lot of efforts this year to communicate with our elected officials better, inviting them to things, providing them information. Have we had any feedback? Are they getting what they want? Are we getting input back from them? Are we advancing the ball? Are they feeling good about this? Or do they have suggestions on what they're really looking for?
I have heard only good things.
Good.
I will tell you that we had several members of county council come up to us after the meeting last month and praise our presentation and say how it was one of the best they'd ever heard, and they really appreciated our transparency and our communication along the way.
I've heard the same thing, and they also complimented the preparation that was obvious that had been put into all that. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I have noticed that some of our elected officials take our content that Aja and her team send, or we put on social media, and they incorporate it in their own constituent newsletters and communication, which I think is good.
Perfect.
Mhm. Yes.
I've seen a lot of strategic plans over the years, full strategic plans that are not this comprehensive and high quality for an update. So I just want to say, this is really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, hats off to the entire team, because it was truly a team effort. As far as this piece, Aja and her team did a beautiful job. They've been working on it for several months.
Further questions or observations on the strategic plan? Well, you're still on, Susan, the executive director's report.
I am still on, and we actually touched on some of my director's report in this update, such as the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Again, we are at, as of an hour, it's probably more by now because it literally changes. By the hour, we're at 4,500 children signed up. To put that in context, the census estimates that there are 26,000 eligible children in Allen County. So we are chugging along. Also, really good news that the foundation so far has raised more than $142,000 to support the program. And most recently, we heard that the Do It Best Foundation will be awarding us a $10,000 gift to go toward the Imagination Library. So that was very exciting to hear. And speaking of exciting grant news to hear, we were informed that the AWS Foundation has awarded via the Library Foundation a $60,000 grant to go toward the purchase of a new library at home outreach vehicle. So thanks go to Beth Boatwright and her team for preparing that grant application. Also, we had leadership from the AWS Foundation come do a site visit and interview the team and find out more about our program. So that was a real thrill to hear that we received that funding. It has been a very busy few months and weeks at the library, particularly when it comes to our roof solar and chiller installation. You may have seen quite a bit of activity at the main library last week. We called it Big Crane Week because there was a very big crane outside our building. I believe it took, was it 20 semis to bring in, Dave? That
Yeah.
crane? It was really a wonder to see. And we were really grateful for the flexibility and patience of our staff and our public because it did involve shutting down the street. It involved shutting down our garage for a few days. We did have to shut some departments down in the main library, although we were never completely closed, in order for those cranes to do their work and get the chillers lifted up to the roof. I believe one of the chillers was about 26,000 pounds. But it all went off successfully and safely, and we are on track for substantial completion of the project by the end of the year. So a big thanks to our new facility manager versus maintenance manager, Jake Olam, and his team for all of their hard work. Ben and I, along with our youth services manager, Jackie, we presented at the December 9th Fort Wayne Community School Board of Trustees meeting. And Ben thanked the school board for their support of our facility master plan. And Jackie and I shared updates on various initiatives like the Imagination Library and the studios. I also wanted to share, if you have not taken a look at our website recently, I would encourage you to do so. We made an update within the last few weeks with enhanced descriptions of each branch library. So previously, each branch had a section on the website that consisted of an exterior page and their address and their phone number and their hours. Those have been built out thanks to our digital services specialist, Jeff. We now have a full history of the branch. We have interior and exterior photos. We have suggested reads from the branch staff, and we also have land acknowledgements that we put together in conjunction with Kurt and his team, as well as tribal elders. And if you go to our main page, if you look under About, Library Information, Location and Hours, you can see those expanded pages for all the branches. And finally, in late-breaking news, I usually have some late-breaking news, and this is a good piece. We found out just a few days ago that the English Fonter Mitchell Foundation has awarded the Cuesta Foundation $20,000 to support our ACPL Foundation Scholars Program, and that is the program where our staff can apply for a reimbursable loan to work on their Master's of Library Science degree. So this year was the first year the foundation funded 2 scholars, and the purpose of the program was that Cuesta would look for some matching funds to match the investment of our own library foundation. So we're really pleased that they have found $20,000 of those matching funds. So we'll be funding 2 more of those scholars within our staff in 2025. And that's what I have.
Comments? It sounds like it's been very busy, not only this month, but this year. Very well done.
Definitely.
Now we come to a bittersweet portion of our agenda, the recognition of retirements.
Thank you. And we'll have Lorraine read those aloud.
I'm going to actually start at the bottom of the list because we had to say goodbye to a few people this year. Bittersweet because we're excited for them, but sad to see them leave ACPL. So James Thomas had 8 years here. He was at our Pontiac branch. Karen Ross had 9 years at ACPL. She was at our DuPont branch. George Johnson Coffey had 10 years as the ARS manager. Susan Ricker was here for 13 years, also at our DuPont branch. John Wagner had 17 years in our maintenance department. Tom Manning had 26 years in our IT department. Ted Brown had 31 years, most recently in our EVS housekeeping department. Sammy Jimenez had 32 years in our IT department. Mary Bierman also had 32 years in our tech services. Stacy Stamas had 35 years finishing out in adult services. Scott Mertz had 42 years at our Shawnee branch, and Victoria Tominski had 52 years in our genealogy department. So we wish them all a wonderful retirement, but also sad to see them go.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. So what a great reflection on the culture and the
Yeah.
leadership that we've got people staying that long. Ray, I'm
Yeah.
curious, do we recognize these folks in some way, either recognition or awards, as they hit certain milestones?
Yes. At our staff day every year, we acknowledge on increments of 5, so 5, starting at the 5-year, 10-year. When they do decide to retire, typically the department will hold a retirement party. The Friends, I believe, also have a gift for them after they've reached a certain number of years. And then we do milestones for our staff. So starting at the 5-year, 10-year, we have gifts under a dollar threshold for them to choose, and we celebrate. And I usually get them Cookie Cottage, because everybody likes Cookie Cottage.
And certificates and
Yeah.
little, are they keychains or little pens?
Yeah, the
or-
keychains are for 5-year and then 10-year, and then after that, they get gifts, physical gifts, so.
So I just want you to assure me, I look at the years of service, some of these folks, we're not violating any child labor laws because we're hiring some of these people. in Cooper Control, right?
No.
Pat, when some of these people started, there were no child labor.
Touche.
Thank you,
Thank
Lorraine.
you.
Are there any items of new business that should come before this body? How about public comment? Nothing via the airwaves? Okay, let me entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And let me remind you, we have an executive session 5 minutes following this adjournment. Thank you.
Just as a side note, what Susan had mentioned about the solar